Many thanks for joining us on the midweek edition of TVC Breakfast from the Business Desk. It's now time to bring you our feature on the show today. Now, today marks the International Accountant Day, and to just discuss this and much more, I have with me live in our Lagos studio Chartered Accountant Morolayo Opute. Good to have you on the breakfast show this morning.
Thank you.
I decided to delve away from the norm, just bring in this. Now, as a chartered accountant, first and foremost, a happy celebration to you. It's quite a day to mark.
I know.
Let's start off really with the integral role of chartered accountants. Now, you're having quite an evolving phase of data analysis, management, and much more. How integral will you say chartered accountants are in the overall spectrum of business today?
Okay, I would say that accountants and professional accountants are very important when it comes to businesses, even in government, in the sense that they help us to get the necessary financial data that organizations will need to be able to plan and to be able to analyze and know how the business is performing. So in terms of performance, they help to see that we can see the numbers. It shows us how profitable the business is. It shows us our costing. Another area is budgeting, because budgeting has to do with planning. You want to plan for the years ahead, and we all know that whoever fails to plan has planned to fail. So that's why that budgeting aspect is also important. Another thing accountants also do is we have a side of auditing, where we have the auditors going into organizations or even parastatals to audit what the activities going on there, to be sure that they are keeping proper records and they are following business processes as they should, because all of these things is about business processes, and we want to see if people are doing the work or they are complying with the control measures that management have put in place.
We also saw a shift now. So many organizations from the peak of the pandemic era up till now, still maneuvering through the pandemic, had to now re-strategize, revisit their business arrangement, and a whole lot more. And accountants were also critical in this element of also creating much more cushions or shock absorbers. Tell us about some of the evolution or changes or shifts we are seeing gradually now. You've talked about auditing, you've talked about business development and strategizing and a whole lot more. How do you see things shifting now, especially as we work more remotely?
Now, post-pandemic, during the pandemic and even post-pandemic, I noticed that more
still in the pandemic.
We are still in it. I noticed that more businesses are moving their activities online. So we should be talking about automation of processes now, because people are now even working from home. So as an accountant or professional accountant, you want to be able to put all your processes online as much as possible, because that will even help you to be efficient, in the sense that the things you would have spent hours doing traditionally by going through maybe the manual process, when it's automated and you can leverage on technology to get the work done, you will be spending lesser time, and that will help to reduce the cost of doing business, even for your employer or for that organization. And another thing we want to also consider is the fact that the world itself has changed. The world has changed, so accountants need to also adapt. They need to be abreast. They need to adapt to those changes as it is now. If you are an accountant that cannot leverage on technology very well, I tell you, if few time to come, you will become obsolete. So it's very important to know how to use technology to drive your processes, and even your business structure should have that. Should recognize the fact that technology is what everyone is using now to drive their businesses. And
now, talking about auditing as well, and looking at cost-cutting measures, these are measures that globally we're all looking at as we're maneuvering through the COVID-19 pandemic now. For organizations who are looking to cut costs, accountants are critical, especially within the segment, but there's still this area of sharp practices that just because we want to slim down budgets, we want to slim down operational volumes and all of those, we still have to cut costs. Now, what's your word to accountants today to still stick with the principles, the ethics, and not indulge in sharp practices that bring to question whether or not they know what they're doing? Because at the end of the day, all of these issues, no matter how small these information tweakings are, it still comes out as big booms.
Yeah, that's true. As a professional accountant, we should know that our practice is guided by ethics, and we must carry out our duties in line with those ethics. So we can't say because we are cutting down costs, we should compromise quality or output. Yeah, cost cutting is very good because every business now is looking at how they can reduce their cost and increase their profit. On the other hand, we should ensure that while we are doing that, that the main goal is sustainability, so to speak, that beyond just profitability, you want to ensure that that business remains a going concern, or even if it's a public organization or a parastatal, you want to ensure that, okay, your services or the value you are adding to the people you are providing services to would continue in the long run. So as an accountant, you should not be involved in any corrupt practices, no malpractice whatsoever, because your ethics is such a professional, your profession is such a unique one that is guided by ethics. You must be someone of integrity. You must be someone that is also accountable, because if you are asking other people to be accountable, you yourself, you should be accountable, and you should be someone that is trusted as well. And that takes us to the area of soft skills that accountant of today should have. It's beyond just the number crunching, bookkeeping or adding numbers. Today's accountants are also required to have some soft skills, especially problem solving skills, ability to multitask, to think on your feet as well, adaptability, flexibility, because a lot of changes are happening that you cannot afford to say, oh, I'm just going to keep doing things in my old traditional way that I've known how to do it. No, things are changing, things are evolving. You also need to change with the time and know what are the recent development, what are the happenings in your field, in your industry, and you want to develop yourself to be able to match the responsibilities. I'll still come back
to the role of certification, but now the practice of accounting in a private firm, irrespective of the duty is still similar, it's totally different from a private firm and government agencies. Now, how do you think we can also get to that point where we see better accounting practices in private organizations and also public organizations, especially those within government quarters, where there is this mirage where we see things on paper and it's totally different in practice?
Okay, so I would think that private organizations are even doing a little more better compared to government organization when it comes to accounting for their transactions, because most of these government parastatals,
transparency.
I don't think they have that proper accounting record. And even if they do, I don't think some of those parastatals have been audited in years or even in decades. I mean, we listen to the news and we hear of how some parastatals have not been audited in many years. And you can imagine what will be going in there. Everyone will have a free,
just business as usual.
Business as usual, a free day and all of that. But when we all come together and say, you know what, professional accountant, whether you are a public accountant, in public practice, or you are working for a private organization, you have to do your job. You have to still comply with the ethics of the profession, regardless of where you find yourself, whether in public service or in private service. But you hear some of the public accountants in the public service saying, oh, you don't think it's like the way it works in the private sector, that here you take orders from above. It's what they tell you, you do. You cannot say, oh, I want to do things right. And I'm like, no, it shouldn't be. You should be able to say
the principles and ethics are sacrosanct.
Exactly.
Too important to be changed.
I know.
Now, looking at the longevity of accounting and the way we are seeing brands also adopt accounting as well, we also have to look at the role of young accountants also coming into the field. We have emergent sectors of the economy. You have businesses now in dealing in crypto assets and all of these. You have those looking at 3D technology and much more. Accountants is still very vital in shaping and redefining these emerging markets to now become the mainstay. Now, talking about certification, for just the basic certification and additionals. Now, you talked about soft skills, but beyond that, it's for so many will say we have to just train and retrain ourselves. What's your word to young accountants at this point in time? Yes, to get the certification is also quite a Herculean task as well. What's your word to young accountants today?
So I would say that
aspiring.
Yes. So I would say to young accountant that the certification is good. I mean, it's the starting point. However,
going through ACCA is not easy.
I know it's not easy at all. It's a lot of sleepless nights, you know, with a lot of reading and all of that. But beyond getting the certification, you should you should be involved in continuous professional training. That training is always very important, because it is with that training that you will get to develop yourself and be abreast of what is happening, you know, in your environment and even in the profession itself, because the profession is not operating in isolation of the environment, and that is why that training is necessary for us to know, okay, so what are the new developments in our industry, maybe in taxes, in
oil and gas.
So what are the recent developments? So what is the role of accountant, you know, in helping to bring this to life? So young people should be people that, especially those aspiring to be accountant, you should be someone that seek out information. I mean, listen to the news, know what is happening in your industry, and ask yourself, how can I improve myself, improve my skill to match the happenings or the activities in my environment, or the changes that is taking place in my industry. So that is very important.
And then this also dovetails into mentorship and umbrella bodies as well. Let's look at the role of these institutions and individuals as well, and also shaping how things go. We're trying our best when we look at umbrella bodies to ensure that we have ethics still remain, but how do you think these bodies and individuals mentoring younger or even older accountants on just taking to the rules, how do you see this shaping going forward today?
Now, when you talk about the umbrella body, you're talking about maybe like the ICANN, the ACCA, So I would say that they are also doing their bit in their own little way, but I always believe that we can do more, you know, as an umbrella body, especially when it comes to that training aspect. I believe we are not doing enough, because having trainings 2 or 3 times a year, is as good as negligible.
It gets rusty.
So I believe so much in having like regular training, maybe once in a month, and beyond the training as well, there should be opportunity for hands-on training as well, because most of the training are just lectures. But when you get back to work, each accountant should be given the opportunity to apply what they have been trained on, and that's where the hands-on comes in, and that's also where mentoring comes in, because at times it's not the body that will mentor you, it will be people who are also professionals like yourself, maybe who have been in the profession for decades, that will be mentoring you. So if you are opportune to mentor a younger accountant, your focus should be on how to ensure that that accountant have hands-on experience, such that what they read in school or what they read in book, you know, becomes practical to them, and they can use that skill to solve problems for the organization. Because if you are not solving problems, then I mean, what value are you adding?
So let's now clear misconceptions and also clarify now. For so many, the role of auditing and accounting are different, but you, with your vast years of practice within the auditing field and also accounting, how do you say they're similar or are adjuncts or additions to each other to complement?
Okay, so I would say that auditing and accounting, it's not the same. Even though we all know that it's still the same accounting, but auditing is a bit different in the sense that auditing, you are coming in as an auditor to examine the books or the records of an organization to see if the processes, the controls, they said, oh, this is what we have put in place and this is how we carry out our transaction. You want to examine their books to see that that is how they are doing it. And at the end of the day, you want to ascertain that their record keeping, is in shape. And it's more like an advisory and a consultancy role, because at the end of the audit you are now reporting to management. These are our findings, these are the areas we think you should improve on, like recommendations. We put the observation as well as the recommendation. But as an accountant, what you'll be doing basically is to ensure that we have record keeping for all the transaction that is going on in the organization. Then you would analyze those records. You prepare maybe the financials to report to management, for management to know that, okay, this is how the company, this is the financial position or the financial status of our organization. So it's helping management to take decision. When you're an accountant, when you're an auditor, you are helping the board and the whole organization to be on their toes and know that, see, you guys said this is what we have put in place and these are the processes we need to follow, but this is what you are doing in the actual sense. And if you want your business to continue as a going concern in the next 5 years, we think you should,
this is the path to follow.
This is the path to follow.
Thank you very much for your time on the Breakfast Show this morning. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you,
and happy International Accountant Day. We hope to see much more evolution, and Nigerian accountants also take center stage in the redefinition of businesses in Nigeria today. We definitely need greener days ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dari.